Hi, I'm Matt Garrett. I'm the founder here at FounderCo, and at FounderCo, we are the how-to for founders. Our entire mission is to help founders become as impactful as possible with really practical, hands-on content. Now you can check out more content here on YouTube or wherever this video might be, but you also can check out our new podcast, Founder Feedback, on our website at founderco.org or on any of your favorite podcast listening apps. Now, with that in mind, let's get into it. In this video, we're going to be covering a new concept called awareness avenues, and the whole purpose is to actually drive potential customers for them to know about your business so they can potentially become a customer for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. So here's what we're going to cover in this video. One is a basic rundown of what a sales funnel is. We're going to go through the really big basics of it. So if you don't know what a sales funnel is, that's okay. We're got you covered. The second part we're going to go through is the 5 different awareness avenues that you can use to help drive potential customers to know that your business exists. And the third one is actually how to create experiments in each of the different awareness avenues, and then how to decide which awareness avenues are actually working or not working, and which ones you should continue to use to help run your business for the near-term future. So what is a sales funnel? A sales funnel is the process of someone going and becoming a potential customer to actually becoming a customer, and then everything that goes beyond that as well. And just for these purposes, we're going to keep this really simple, just 4 stages. The first stage is the awareness stage, and that's where we're going to spend our time in this video. The awareness stage is how to actually potential customers where you can solve their problems actually know that you exist. The second part of it is the engagement stage, and that is like how are they, keeping in the know with you? How are they constantly being reminded that your business exists? Now you have to think through the rule of 7. Most of the time, the general rule for marketing is that it takes at least 7 times for a potential customer to buy from you. So this is the time where you're getting those 7 hits. Like, how are they seeing you? Now, the sales portion is actually, this is where you get your money. So how do they become, they're engaging with your content or engaging with you in some way to actually handing you $1 or however much, it takes to buy your service or product. And then this final stage is the referral or follow-up stage. And the referrals, how do they actually, do they give it out to potential friends, colleagues, the others that might want to go through your process again? They help build your business with that and give you more customers. And then also, how do you actually work with them to actually get feedback on maybe your sales process, but B, your product, so you can continue to improve it, and then they become repeat customers over and over again. So you have a really loyal customer base. Now, what do we mean by awareness avenues? What we mean is that awareness avenues are the ways that you can actually create, potential customers and actually create experiments and concepts and ways that you actually do that in a really practical way, rather than just saying like, oh, we're gonna do Facebook ads or we're gonna do, SEO, like these really big terms that you hear and you don't actually know what they mean. But the way we're gonna attack it is that so you can actually, you might be using some of those terms, but actually creating experiments that are really tangible and that you can use to help build your business, especially in this time of being virtual. Now, the 5 awareness avenues are search, publicity, offline opportunities, content resources, and networking. But we're going to go through each of them individually and the different types of experiments you can create within each different awareness avenue. So the first awareness avenue we're going to cover is search. And this search awareness avenue is how, if a customer is searching to solve their problem, how do they actually find you in that search process? Now, generally, if we were talking about 10, 15, 20 years ago, we were talking about purely just Google. What keywords are you talking about? How do people find you through Google? Nowadays, there's so many different ways for people to search to solve their problems that there's a lot of different ways you actually can be found through search. So you can think through it as like Google, YouTube, these Instagram hashtags. Instagram hashtags are keywords essentially. And there's blogs. If you're running a blog, you can actually target keywords within your blog so that you pop into Google. The search ads, and then also if you have an app or any type of software, these app stores also have a SEO or search engine built into them as well. So anything that's like searchable, it could be a podcast directory, it can be really anything with search. You can optimize for it and actually help build your business through that and help gain awareness with search. The second awareness avenue we're going to talk about is publicity. And publicity is more than just getting, the newspapers or news, to cover you. It's more than just that. Publicity is how do you get a mass audience to actually care about what you're doing and actually it's more of a mass audience appeal. Now, publicity can be the traditional PR, it can be the news, it can be the newspapers, it can be audiences like that. It also could be like stunts. So if you look at examples like GoPro or Red Bull, doing like really crazy things to help drive some of those maybe news to cover it. Awards. So if you have a best place to work or things like that where you can get awards for what you're doing, that's a way to getting awareness as well. And another example is doing sponsorship. So if there's like a newsletter that you can sponsor, or a podcast, or another video, wherever you might be able to do sponsorship, that's another way of doing publicity. Now, one word of caution with publicity, and this really goes for all of the awareness avenues, but I think it's more important for publicity because this one can be really easy just to try to get everyone and market to everyone. And the saying is, if you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing to no one. So make sure you're actually being really targeted with your audiences. And actually, this is a great way to test if you know your target market or not. Now, if you're looking at, let's say you have like 3 different customer personas that might be a customer, go test out 3 different ways to see which audience is actually responding the best to it. So this can be one way, but don't get all cut off like, oh, we got to be on the New York Times or Wall Street Journal. It doesn't matter. Make sure you're being really niche in what you do. I think that's the best way. So you can really start small. Start with small blogs, start with small magazines, and go from there. But try to don't just get caught up in like, oh, we got to have these big publications. That's all really helpful for building credibility. And those will come with time as you execute at a high level. The third awareness avenue we're going to talk about is offline opportunities. And offline opportunities is a little bit harder with COVID-19 happening at the moment. However, this will change and as we'll get through COVID-19. But in the meantime, some of these things still apply. So one, some examples of these offline opportunities that can work are, trade shows, direct mail, speaking engagements, meetups. And some of these things are happening online. However, there's still, direct mail is still happening and everyone's at home. So this might be a great opportunity potentially for direct mail to work really well. Offline opportunities, there's things that are offline that help build, awareness for your business. And this is a great example. Paul Graham at Y Combinator talks a lot about doing things that don't scale. And a lot of these things that happen in offline opportunities are things that don't scale. So think about these, at the end of the day, if you're really just starting out with your business, your goal is to get your first 100 customers. That is such a big achievement. So try to get your first 100 customers. And usually for a lot of companies, offline opportunities is how they get their first 100 customers. The fourth awareness avenue we're going to talk about is content resources. Now, content resources is essentially, anything that's a way you can create content to provide value for your customers or potential customers. Now, that can take forms of social media, blogging, creating an online tool, or even an email newsletter that has resources in it. This is really just like what kind of content, like it's almost like another product in a lot of ways that can help your customer, solve their problem. Now, when you're going through this one, it can be really easy just to be like, oh, we're going to do Instagram. Well, how are you actually going to use Instagram to actually build value and actually gain awareness? So try to be as specific as possible when you're creating these experiments in the different awareness avenues, because it'd be really easy just to say, oh, we're going to do Instagram, but you still don't know how to use Instagram. So think through what kind of content would be helpful. You can also just repackage stuff. So if you're creating, YouTube content, you can then take that and then take snippets of that or photos from that and post that on Instagram and create content, like valuable content with that if you're just taking a snippet. So don't think about it in terms of like maybe not necessarily like the platform they're using, but what kinds of content would be helpful for your customer and then help build trust, and then and then hopefully that leads to sales for you later on. The fifth and final awareness avenue we're going to talk about is networking. Now, networking is anything that has to do with getting in-person or just one-on-one conversations with potential customers. It could take the forms of partnerships, cold calls, introductions, affiliate marketing, or just virality. Networking is the way, how do you actually get people to talk to one another, and it's probably most likely, you and the customer, but it could be customers talking to other customers as well. Networking is like one of those things that it goes kind of hand in hand with Paul Graham saying again that doing things that don't scale is important. So if if you've been in the industry for 10 years or so, however many years it's been, doesn't matter, and you know the industry really well, and you create a product or service for that, and if you know hey, I know 100 people that might fit what we're doing, reach out to them. That would be considered a networking awareness avenue. So this one can be, again, not scalable. That's okay. Some of these things will scale. Like if there's partnerships that can be helpful to you, strategic partnerships where you help them and you also, they help you. There can be some really cool ways of getting these things to happen and getting customers in a really scalable way. So, but at the same time, don't get caught up in scalable when you're building these awareness avenues. Just think about things in terms of 6 to 18 months when you're building experiments in these different awareness avenues. How do you actually use these awareness avenues to drive potential customers to your business and so that they actually know that you exist as a business? Well, you want to create as many ideas for experiments in each of these 5 different awareness avenues. So go through them and just take 5 to 10 minutes on each of them and just drop down how many ideas can I create. You want to at least try to get 15 different ideas. Try for 15. I know that's hard, but go through 15 because it's going to force you to be creative. If you're just doing like 2 to 3, that's not enough. It's not kind of forcing those creative juices to happen, and it's not challenging you enough. You want to get to 10 to 15 different ideas and for each of these awareness avenues, because sometimes there'll just be some magical moments that you're like, oh my gosh, like that was awesome. I never would have thought of this if I didn't sit down. So try to create 10 to 15 different experiments in each of these awareness avenues. So you should have 50 to 100 different awareness experiments that you could potentially run for your business. Now, once you have all that, you want to create, take your top experiment that you want to run in each of these different awareness avenues. So pick your favorite one, and then what you want to do from there is actually create benchmarks that tell you whether or not those experiments are successful or not. Now you might be thinking to yourself, this feels a lot like the scientific method, and that's exactly how it should feel. It should feel like running a scientific experiment, just like you're back in high school or college. Build a benchmark that tells you if it's successful or not, and metrics that can help tell you if it's successful or not. And just like, here are some examples: is that it could be the number of views you're getting, the number of emails you're getting, but most likely it's probably gonna be the number of views or how many people are getting to know your business, because we are talking about the awareness part of your business. We're not necessarily, if we're going back to the sales funnel here, we're talking about the awareness part. These 3 other parts, they're important, but in this video we're talking mainly just for awareness. So revenue, if you're looking at revenue as potentially as your metric of success, it could be potentially. If you have a product that is more of an impulse buy, revenue might be the way you go. But if you have a product that isn't, and most people don't have an impulse buy or a product or service that's impulse, money might not be your way of actually telling if it's successful or not. It might be the views, it might be the emails you get, but play it by ear, see how it goes. But it's the minimum, create benchmarks that help tell you if your experiments are successful or not. And so that way there's no gray zone. It's very cut and dry, like, hey, this one works, this one doesn't. And then you can also, because you're picking each one of each awareness avenue, like your top experiment each in these 5 avenues. You can use those benchmarks then to compare against each of the different experiments and tell, okay, this one's working, this one's okay, this one's fantastic, this one sucks really bad. You can actually compare them if you have these different benchmarks and see what's actually working to drive potential customers to your business. That's all we have for awareness avenues. Now, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel because this is an awareness avenue for us. It's creating through YouTube. So subscribe to us and also check out our podcast, Founder Feedback, on any of your favorite podcast listening apps or on our website at founderco.org. And as always, if we can ever be of any help to you, please don't be afraid to reach out to us at hello@founderco.org. That's hello@founderco.org. And until then, we'll see you later.